A question I get quite frequently is which 4x4 is the best, what 4x4 should I buy, etc. So I thought I would just make a quick video trying to sort of summarise what I think of each 4x4 and which ones I recommend. So first up we have the Chi Wuchui. This one comes at £15.99, which is quite cheap, but remember it's quite an old cube. It came out just in 2016, just before the sort of wave of magnetic 4x4s hit the market. So you do need to magnetise it yourself if you want it magnetised. Thankfully that's not such a difficult task. You also need to take the springs out, compress them by 1mm, as per Chris Olsen's video. Highly recommend doing that. The way I set up all my cubes, I put Lubrical Black in the core, I put Gravitas on the rings around the centres, and I put Dignitas on the pieces, that's Angstrom, and then I can top it up with DNM whenever I need to. The Wuchui, it can eat lube, so you have to be you have to expect to use a lot of lube on this cube. But once you do that, and once you set it up, and once you have the tensions right, it does become a very nice cube. I used it as my main for the longest time until I got a replacement, but I'll get to that later. The Alsea GTS2 from Moyu is the next one. So this comes in at £27.99. This one is really just nice out the box. You don't need to do much out of the box for it to be good. Obviously, I still set mine up. It just makes it even better. It makes it smoother. It's faster. I keep all my cubes relatively tight to minimise pops. With the Alsea, I've never had a pop. With the Wuchui, I have quite frequently. It's an old cube, so it's sort of to be expected, really. This cube sort of locks up a little bit in a weird way on the inner layers sometimes. There's not a lot of reverse corner cutting. But I don't really mind that because I'm not really trying to corner cut on 4x4s anyway, so yeah, but this one I recommend to people who just want a cube that's good out of the box. I also use it for 4 blind. I know Stanley does too, but obviously I'm nowhere near on his level or anything, but you know, if you want to, if that's an endorsement, then there you go. Yeah, that's the Alsea. The next one is the Cannibal 60. I'm gonna be frank. This was not a good cube. You might be drawn in by the GAN and also the price tag of $39.99. The outer layers are nice. A little bit like what happens when you compress the springs on the Wuchui, but just faster. But the inners are just really slow and really locky, and parity is really bad on it. It's just not really one I recommend to anyone, especially with a price tag of almost £40. It's, I mean, if you want it as a collector's item, I guess you can go for that. It's very nice to look at, it must be said, but it's just not very nice to turn. The next one I have is the Wuchui Mini from Chi again. This is basically just a smaller version of the Wuchui, 60mm, except it's magnetised and it's sort of an attempt to make the puzzle more modern. But the problem with it is it's really slow. Even after you set it up, it's just not very good, I don't think. It also eats lube. It's the same problem as the original. I think it does it more, to be honest. So yeah, I don't really recommend that one either, the Wuchui Mini. I've set them all up the same way, but that one's just really slow, and the GAN is just really locky. So that's that. And the last one I have is the Volk 4. This one is the most recently released, at $31.99. Out of the box I found it quite dry, but very fast. It comes in 2 versions, standard magnets and strong magnets. The strong magnets are the one I have, but I've heard there's not a huge amount of difference between the two. Although I've not tried a standard one, so I can't really comment on that. This one sort of has the same lack of reverse corner cutting problem as the Alsea, to a slightly bigger extent, unless you take the time to like sort of be precise with the tensions. I can't remember exactly what I did to mine. It was like something like a 3 or 7/16 of a turn away from half or something. I can't remember. It was very precise. I made sure it was very precise. But once you do it, once you take the time to set it up, it's very worth it. It's like any GUB cube really. It becomes great after you set it up. You need to take the time to do it properly. So yeah, so the Volk 4 is my main. That's the one I recommend most. But I also recommend the Alsea to people who don't want to set up cubes or don't want to take the time. So my first one to recommend will be the Alsea, but for those that want to set up their cubes properly, I will recommend the ao5, because I just think once you set it up, it just becomes the better cube. It's the best 4x4 out there, I think. So those are my thoughts on 4x4s. So summarize, Alsea is great out the box, Volk is great after setup. Original Wuchui is good after setup, but you do need a lot of setup. Wuchui Mini is bad. GAN 460 is bad. So yeah, get the Volk 4, get the Alsea. All the links will be in the description to all 5 of these cubes, of course. And yeah, enjoy the rest of this average, and thanks for watching.